Well, good morning. How are you all today? Welcome to Integrative Preparedness. Well, for those of you who haven't heard, Paul Harrell has passed away. Most of you probably are very familiar with Paul. For those of you who aren't, and I realized when I put up the news last night on the Patreon channel that some people weren't. A lot of the women aren't familiar with Paul because, for the most part, women don't follow the gun stuff quite as much as the guys do. But for those of you who may not be familiar with who Paul Harrell was, it was, in my opinion, and in the opinion of many people, probably the best gun channel on YouTube and probably anywhere else. And what made him the best, in my opinion, is that he supported what he said. He was a great resource for me and for many others when we would and I quoted him many times. For instance, YouTube is apparently pushing my old video about why you shouldn't carry a 9mm again because I'm getting all sorts of rude and crazy comments from people who love their nines. Uh, but in it, I was able to, this shows what a resource he was. I said, don't take my word for it, even though my opinion comes from my experience of seeing how different rounds actually affect the human body, seeing it on the street and in emergency rooms and in the morgue. Still, all the little boys who learn all their stuff from magazines and their friends would come on and argue with me. But I was able to say, here's some links to Paul Harrell's videos to where he compares the destructive capabilities of the different calibers. And he would do that. He was very methodical, very meticulous. And he would show through his different targets, his meat target being the famous one that many of you, I'm sure, know. You know, he'd shoot through soda bottles and all sorts of things. But then finally put up the meat target that pretty much approximated, what would happen as a result of shooting into a human body, and he would compare and see exactly what are these, uh, for everybody who wants to argue about things and doesn't really know, they were able to go to him if they would allow themselves to consider the truth and see exactly what would happen. And he was a real scholar when it came uh, to firearms, to guns. He had pancreatic cancer. For those of you, a lot of you do know this. He had pancreatic cancer. Uh, it seemed like he was going to have a longer run, and it turned out that he didn't. When I saw this last night, I was going through some stuff on YouTube, and I saw a picture of Paul there, and it said, "I'm dead." That's how and that was so Paul Harrell, right? I'm dead. And then you click it, and it says, "Well, if you're seeing this, it's because I'm now dead, and I've told my brother to go ahead and post this." Uh, so what I want to do here is simply to uh, suggest to everyone, um, if you are interested in the truth of about firearms, um, you can either watch me or some other people out there who actually know. But I don't get out there and I don't shoot, you know, real targets, and I don't get into the weeds near like Paul does. I mean, that was his specialty. And but if you want to understand the truth, go watch Paul Harrell's videos. It is a resource. He is a resource that, in my opinion, is so far irreplaceable. There's been some others out there who do a pretty good job, but nobody approached Paul Harrell when it came to that. So rest in peace to Paul. Yes, shot placement does matter. You know, if you want to hear some of the stupid things that people will say when it comes to guns and things, I had somebody actually leave a comment about this mug yesterday, and he said, "Well, a bullet hole through a glass object doesn't make any sense to me." Good Lord. It's an image. It's a graphic. It makes a couple of points. That's the kind of people. There's too many people like that on YouTube, and then there's far too many people to get out there on YouTube. And I've talked about this before, who are teaching things they don't know. They're passing on information they don't know because there's a lot of money in preparedness, and there's a lot of I mean, if you if you're willing to put BS out there, there's a lot of money in it, and a lot of money in the gun stuff and the gun channel. And that's too bad. That's why there's so much misleading information out there. So, like I say, go to Paul Harrell's if you're really interested in guns. Go to Paul Harrell's channel. Even though he's gone, his channel is going to stay up, and really, you will get an education. You will hear it from someone who knows, not someone who's just trying to act like they know. Okay. Plenty of posers out there. Paul wasn't one of them. Paul Harrell, rest in peace. And you all have a good day. Remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. And part of living well and preparing for tomorrow is having the correct information. And that's what Paul gave you. Y'all have a good day. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.